we've all faced the dreaded choice at the end of our shopping trip, to face a social interaction or pursue a line of independence. Will it be small talk or the risky self-checkout?
Please wait, help is on the way.
The heralded technology promised to end our awkwardness and speed us along the path home with our purchases. But you may have noticed this is not exactly the utopian vision that plays out. In fact, self-checkouts kind of suck.
Please place item in bag. Unexpected item in bagging area. Please wait for assistance. Help is on the way.
And yet, help can take a long time. A really long time. One report found that among 1,000 consumers, 2/3 had experienced a failure at a self-checkout lane. And yet, the self-checkout industry is projected to grow at a compound annual growth rate of 13.4%. Not a big surprise considering automation is on the rise everywhere, but considering their dysfunction, shoplifting, external shrinkage, maintenance costs, installation costs, are they really worth it? Stores have always been trying to get customers to do more and more as the idea of self-service grew over the 20th century. From handing a cashier a list of items that they would gather for you, to picking out items yourself, to finally scanning and bagging your own items. Now, this is important to the whole self-checkout thing because it marked a shift in thinking. Get your untrained customer to do unpaid labor under the guise of being self-sufficient and thus more efficient. But we'll get to how efficient, or not, it really is though. Self-checkout, closer to what we know today, was introduced in 1986 at a few Kroger stores. At the ACM, automated checkout machines, also called check robots, customers would scan their own merchandise and put it on a conveyor belt to be delivered to the waiting bagger. Then the customer would take the bagged items to the cashier and pay. Kind of sounds pointless because you still need to go to a cashier after all that. And it took a total of 3 years of research and development and $5 million to create it. Even at the time, a Kroger vice president admitted to reporters that the system was actually slower. What's the point then? It just felt faster. The perception is the thing we're really dealing with. And if the customer feels and thinks this checkout method is faster, they're satisfied with getting out of the store faster. That perception didn't go away. Self-checkouts took until the 2000s to take hold, and people still weren't crazy about them, with a 2002 New York Times article commenting that the apparent increase in checkout speed was a psychological effect. The fact of the matter is, modern self-checkouts have existed for around 20 years, and the technology still seemingly hasn't caught up with our human need to buy Cheetos. Or has it? Are they actually efficient and we just hate them anyway? We're gonna get into the nitty-gritty of it. Starting with efficiency. Grocery stores and kiosk manufacturers boast a lot of claims about the efficiency of self-checkouts, and a lot of the data out there comes from them. We'll work with what we got. Cashiers in a traditional checkout system are held to IPMs, items per minute, to measure productivity. The average expectation is 20 to 30 items per minute, although Aldi claims a target of 48 IPM. Let's say a trained cashier has an average of 25 IPM. So every item takes about 2.5 seconds to scan, plus around 40 seconds for the POS system and the whole hello, how are you, good, etc. So that would be 2.5 seconds per item times an average of 6 items plus 40 seconds, making it all together 55 seconds. There's less data on self-checkout IPMs because, well, it's not exactly a target a customer is held to. The average self-checkout time has been reported as 41 seconds. Used to be 85 seconds 8 years ago, with that average of 6 items. We're getting a little faster. But of course, if you have a cart full of items, the trained cashier's IPM will be a lot faster than your own. To put it in conclusive terms, a flawless self-checkout with minimal items is more efficient, so usually it'll be faster. But let's hope you don't put an unidentified item in the bagging area. Ugh. Now, we'll look at costs a little differently. Now, when a store is looking to add self-checkout, there are a few different factors to consider. A typical 4-lane setup costs around $125,000 to install, depending on where you purchase from. IBM charges between $75,000 and $100,000, and Fujitsu charges between $125,000 and $150,000 for a 4-unit setup, and they should last around 5 years. Don't forget, These systems aren't entirely autonomous. There's usually at least one employee assigned to assist customers. So let's compare the labor costs. The average employee watching over 4 self-checkout lanes would cost the company roughly $162,240 over a 5-year period. 4 traditional checkout lanes would each require their own cashier, which would also add up over that 5-year period. Altogether, based on my rough math that I am not entirely confident in, it would cost a grocery store $240,000 to add and run a 4-lane self-checkout over the course of 5 years. Let's also note that this doesn't include if the machines fail and the maintenance costs that would require. So ultimately, it looks like the self-checkout is cheaper and more efficient. But there are hidden costs we need to talk about. There has been a lot of outcry over shoplifting these days, and self-checkout has proved to be a liability. It was recently reported that 15% of shoppers have stolen from self-checkout, and that number shoots up to 31% for Gen Zers. These shoppers use some now standard practices, like the banana trick, where people take an expensive item and ring it up as cheap produce, like taking a T-bone and charging it as a banana. There's the old switcheroo, which involves peeling off inexpensive barcodes and resticking them on expensive items. There's the honest mistake, where small items are hidden, and then there's the machine did it, where your hand covers the barcode when passing over the scanner. I'm sure there's more. Retailers have reported over $110 billion in inventory losses, with theft rates at self-checkouts double the industry average. Even as some stores roll back, others surge forward. Amazon Go is done, but Walmart is pushing cashiers to the forefront again. The truth is, the self-checkout we've always known and loved, strike that, hated, is already dead. We're shifting our way of thinking in the way we shop again. Take Uniqlo, for example. The retailer has changed their checkout strategy with new tech, RFID radio frequency identification chips. Originally, the company used the chips embedded in the price tags to better track items and improve inventory management. Using the chips for self-checkouts wasn't even a part of the thought process. No need to scan individual items. You dump your collection of boxy white t-shirts into a bin, hit the screen and pay, and you're done. It's simpler and cheaper than AI tech or extreme surveillance, and could be the future. In the meantime, it's a big bet. Artificial intelligence is getting in there too. AI Instacarts eliminate checkout lines entirely. They have scales, sensors, touchscreens, and computer vision, so that when you place something in the cart, it's automatically ringed up. The bottom line is the nature of tech has rendered self-checkouts as we know them, as in kiosks and barcodes, obsolete. They're obsolete even before they were good. The future of a superior, less sucky self-checkout lies in the ability to pivot to other technologies and approaches that can handle the more minute complexities more effectively. But like all grand promises of revolutionizing technology, we'll still need a human touch in the face of a weird problem.